The Hollywood Beat looks at movies. Hi, I'm Tandy Culpepper, and I'm joined today by
Reba Merrill.
Hi,
Hello.
Reba. And we are talking about two films today that have one thing in common is that both films have actors that are nominated
Their films aren't.
and their films aren't. Um, and in my esteemed opinion, pat myself on the
I
back.
love that one.
Thank you. Uh, I I'm welcome to my opinion, and so are you. Um, I really felt that either or both of those films that we're talking about could have been nominated for Best Picture. They're quality films.
Absolutely. But this is going to be an Oscar season like no ever. We are bigger internationally than we have ever been.
And you know this especially because you are a member of AMPAS, the Oscar folks. And
Yes.
what makes you say that?
Because when looking at the nominations, more of them are coming from outside of the United States, which I'm
Um,
thrilled about. And when we talk about the actresses, we have two actresses that are nominated with their films, and both films are foreign films, or what we would call the international films.
yeah,
So
they changed the
already,
category designation,
well, they
right?
just changed the name. They, instead of foreign, we're now international.
Right.
Same group, same voting.
Well, okay, let's get this out of the way.
Okay.
You and I both had the same comment about a movie that's nominated, and the title is Nickel Boys.
I'm not going to comment.
All I'm going to say is, I think they tried to be artsy fartsy and they went too far. And that film is taking up a slot that either of our films today could have taken. I I don't care who knows it. I think Nickel Boys is not worth the time that it takes to
Okay,
watch.
but it is the darling of below the line. They are
The
going
darling of what?
the below the line, the people that the sound, the cinematography, they're saying that this was a unique way to show this film or shoot this.
And who the people that will go to watch movies and pay their however outrageous the amount to go to see a movie has become here in LA. What are they looking for? Do you think they're noticing the below the line things?
Um, I don't know how to answer that because I was going to read you, but I left it in the other room. I was going to read you the New York Times list of best pictures, and I've seen a lot this year. I didn't I didn't even know half of them. Not half of them I'd never heard of. And they're not even up on the Academy portal, which I thought was amazing. And so how can I tell you who dictates how the voting goes on?
Here's
Okay,
here. I think when you see a movie,
wait a minute. I have to say this.
uh,
You're underestimating the size of the branches that vote. We have a lot of people that vote for Best Picture, no matter what branch. I got to vote for Best Picture, but I'm in the marketing PR branch. But the cinematographers, the sound, and
costumes.
sound has three sections. It, they're voting technique, they're voting what they see in the industry. And you're looking at it as, well, that's just not my type of film. And you're not realizing that the real power is coming from a large group of people that are neither actors or directors or writers.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, well, let's start talking about A Real Pain.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Boner.
Is not available.
Hey, Benji, I just got to the airport. I really hope you left already.
Oh, yeah.
We get high in backseats of cars.
Davers and I are cousins. We used to be joined at the hip. Our grandma was from here, so Dave arranged for us to join this geriatric Polish tour with you fine people.
That's the way we get by.
I really needed this, man. I know that it's tough for you to leave your boy.
The way we get by.
I don't really have anything going on.
I know it's been a tough few months for you, so...
I also want to say that I know you're not the most comfortable person with people.
I'm not?
No. Does it look real?
Well, they're twice the size of you in metal, so...
You sure you don't want to come up here?
I'm good.
Can you take my picture?
That's what I'm talking about. Marcia!
Thank you, David.
But it's amazing that you're here, putting yourself out there so boldly for me.
Thank you, man.
Let's go smoke a joint.
Go ahead and tell me your overall impression of it.
Well, the thing is that I was charmed. You know, it's a little film that you think is not doing anything, and yet you feel something. You feel the humanity of how difficult it is to have any kind of relationship in a family. I can speak from personal experience.
Oh, I can tell you, I know what you mean.
But I think because I was married to a Polish man for a long time, and when he died, I took my children and my grandchildren back to Poland on a trip to show where he lived and what his life was like.
And we need to interject here that the film is set briefly in New York, and then the bulk of the film is shot in Poland.
And they went there to trace what it was like for their grandmother, who they were all close to. They might not have gotten along, but the healing power was the grandmother that they both adored. And she survived the Holocaust. She actually survived the camps, and they wanted to see where it all started. And that was exactly what I did with my family. And I think
so your husband's family, had they been involved in the Holocaust?
no.
Well, there's that for good news. But
His
still,
his family came from nobility.
from
they-
where?
Nobility from the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
His great grandfather was the legal advice to the king.
You said he was there during the war?
Yes, he came out after the war. You know, the
Oh.
thing is that the film got to me, especially when they get on the train and they start heading to Krakow, which is where the concentration, or well, it doesn't matter. When they get on the
Bloodline.
heading towards any concentration camp, because they had plenty in Poland, it got to me. It really did. It brought back the memories of what he told me, because he saw the man's inhumanity to man right outside his window. He didn't have to go any place to see people being shot, people being butted with rifles, women with the same thing. So when we went, I maybe more than my children, I really felt listening to like his words again about what he saw growing up.
And the characters in this film, which
Getting it from their grandmother.
from their grandmother. I'm trying to think of Eisenberg's character. Benji is played by Kieran Culkin. And can you think of
I think his name was David.
David, that's right. But my first impression of the film was, well, actually, after seeing the film and then revisiting the title, A Real Pain, Jesse's considers his, or rather, David considers his cousin Benji to be a real pain. But on a much deeper level, I think there's the pain of descendants of Holocaust survivors who live with a family member who is constantly, as you said, your husband remember the atrocities that he witnessed. And there are no flashbacks in this film. It's all very sanitized. But then you get it's like the layers of an onion, right? You gradually experience through the characters the awakening of I I've heard about it, but here I am, and it all looks so normal, and yet we know that it wasn't.
But to me, Benji was doing what David didn't have the courage to do, is say the things he felt about what he
Totally
saw
unfiltered.
exactly, and made people uncomfortable, but also made them think. I thought this was more interesting, that the movie could appear to be
Boring?
but it's not. If you look on the surface, it's two guys that don't like each other going on a trip to sit there, and it's like a movie about nothing,
You know what it made me?
and it's not boring, and it's just amazing what it taps in to what you feel. And I don't think you have to have a husband that lived in Poland to feel that.
You're sitting there watching this, and at least I did. When someone is manic, and Benji's character is manic, and then some, you get uncomfortable. But that's the whole thing, because that's what David, his cousin, is going through. Let me say one more thing before I forget it. I thought about this as sort of taking, what's it, Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, who did the road picture movies. And then you also have The Odd Couple with Tony Randall and Jack Krugman. And these two guys, David and Benji, are a definite odd couple, and they're on a road trip. But it's not. It's a comedy that isn't a comedy.
I think one of the things that's amazing that comes out of this movie is Kieran Culkin, who has jumped out since Succession. I mean, he was working from the time that his brother did Home Alone. When I went back to do the research, now I worked on Home Alone 2, which I thought was torture because you can't get a kid to talk. I won't tell you how I did it. The studio was very impressed. But his brother, Kieran, was in those films, both of them, as a little cousin, but he got lost. I think Macaulay kind of took up all the air in that movie. So the thing is that actually he was working for a long time. He is one of six siblings. There are seven kids in that family. They all tried to be actors. Macaulay doesn't want to act anymore. I mean, he just said, I've had enough. Maybe occasionally one of the other ones do, but Kieran ended up, which is really interesting, with a whole career. I think
Stellar. Didn't he win Emmys for
yes, for
Succession?
Succession. Well, he won last year for Best Actor. I think what's amazing about him and what you felt and saw in this thing is he delivers without talking. If you watch, he delivers with his eyes and an expression, and it tells you everything. And I think that's what I was feeling when I watched this film, because Jesse Eisenberg's character just didn't stop. Da, 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 da. And you talked about Kieran's character being manic. But in those moments when he wasn't talking, he was talking.
They made this film for $3 million, I think. And it was picked up. It premiered at Sundance. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was picked up by, was it Searchlight or A24? Doesn't matter. It was picked up for 10 million. So far, it's made 16, so it's made its money back. But this is what's so great about the Oscars and movies. Right when a film gets a nomination, people start paying attention.
And we'll see it.
And then if it wins, people pay more attention. So this is going to give a lot. This
Wait a
film
minute.
is going to make a lot of money.
The nomination of Kieran also makes them aware of seeing this film. Not just the film, but that his performance, because he got picked out of, and I'm going to tell you something. I think the nominations this year, this is the toughest ones with the best actors up. It isn't, sometimes you can just slide through. This is not a slide through year. The performances are extraordinary, and I think he will call attention to the film. And I don't think, I'm going to just say it, I don't think people will be disappointed. For me, a small film that makes me feel good is priceless.
I agree with you. Now, here's something that also speaks. First of all, lost that thought. I want to go back to another one. I think also people who were fans of Succession, and that was a huge TV series, are going to want to follow Kieran Culkin into his first project.
Absolutely. I think that was a brilliant idea that you just had.
Thank you. Thank you. Occasionally, the light bulb goes
Yes, I
on,
actually saw it happening as you
and
talked.
people are home. Apparently, not Jesse, Kieran is a devoted family man who does not like to be away from his family for very long. And this was going to take 28 days. And 2 weeks before, this is what I read. I don't know if it's true, but this is what I read. And 2 weeks before the movie was to start, he got cold feet. And Emma Stone, this surprised me. She was a producer on the film. She called him and sort of gave him a gentle nudge or the riot act and said, "You've got to do this film." And as you said, he wanted to work with Jesse. I can't imagine another actor.
Doing it.
I can't. And it was absolutely brilliant.
So I'll end by saying Karen's nomination is going to call attention to a lovely film. And I don't think people will be disappointed when they see it.
I completely agree with you. So if you haven't made plans to go and see A Real Pain, do it. Both Reba and I say so. Okay. And what more do you need, right? Okay. Now we're moving on to another film, which I absolutely loved, Sing Sing. Let's show folks the trailer.
To die, to sleep, to dream.
This is a clemency hearing for your conviction, 25 to life. Since you've been in custody, you've been involved in a theater program.
Gentlemen, let's go. It's been a program that was established to help people get more in touch with their feelings and truly get some rehabilitation.
I am Gladiator Goliath. I am Spartacus.
I'm Prince Hamlet of Denmark.
And it's turned into something of, I don't know, wonderful.
What part do you play?
From time to time I do act, like we all do.
So are you acting at all during this interview?
So Reba, putting you on the spot again. What did you think?
I liked it. Well, first of all, I had the advantage of talking to Colman Domingo.
You did not.
Of course I did. No, I didn't interview him. This is the next part of my career where I don't have to actually interview. I can speak and ask questions from what I feel as opposed to how much I have to tie in the movie. And I asked him what was the impact on him as the man and as the actor.
Where did this happen?
at a private screening? What are you talking about? What do you think I do as an Oscar voter? I go to screenings.
You go to these screenings and the
And
stars are there.
absolutely. And I get to talk to them. Not everybody wants to talk to them. I want to talk to them because I'm always fascinated after I see a performance. It somehow, especially films like this, where he plays a convicted murderer who's really never going to get out of prison.
Who
Oh,
who always maintained his innocence.
so I think we should tell him what the film is about before we.
Oh, hello. You're right. You want to do it or shall I?
You can do it.
The film takes place in the Sing Sing prison in New York, in Ossing, I can't pronounce it, but Sing Sing, I'm sure everybody of a certain age knows the prison. And it's a group of prisoners who wind up in this program called Rehabilitation Through the Arts that was started in 1995 or 6 to give prisoners something to do. And it's a group of, what would you say, Reba, 20 or so prisoners in this movie? And some of the uh, actors in the movie were actually incarcerated, and they developed new ways of behaving
Communicate.
and modifying their emotions through doing theater. And that's in a nutshell what the movie's about. And you would think that, oh, that sounds boring, but it isn't.
No. It's interesting because what it proves that art heals and slapstick, which is what the plays were all about, saves. And these men's lives are really saved. The impact of whether they get out of prison or not, the man with the second lead in the film is out of prison and he now has a career as an actor. Macklin.
Clarence Macklin.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's a very competitive year for nominations. Clarence Macklin delivers a boffo performance, yet he did not get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And I have it written
Yes,
here.
he did. Well, I see. In the
I
New
have it
York
written here
Times, he did.
somewhere. He was nominated by the Critics' Choice for Best Supporting Actor, by BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor, and by the Independent Spirit Awards for Best Supporting Actor. But he wasn't good enough for the Oscars.
It wasn't a matter of good enough. When we vote in a way that I could have put Clarence first as my first choice, but that wouldn't have meant that he would be first because it is a way of voting that they tally up who got how many votes and in what position they got them in.
Rank choice?
No, it's another word.
Oh, well. It's too complicated for me to take
The
it.
voting for the Oscars are so complicated that I was hoping that I would get a professor and help me translate where to place who I want to win in the ballot, because I have really tried hard. I go and I call a lot of people and say, I want so and so to win. Where do I put it? And they say, try 3. So try position 3.
Oh, that's terrible, because if you're not sure what you're doing,
I
you
know
might,
what I'm doing. I know.
well, I mean,
what I'm
not
doing.
you, the impersonal you, but it could wind up being that you wind up voting for, I don't know, the wrong person. But
No, it
this
isn't.
film,
It's the
oh,
way they tally it. That's what it is.
he did get an Oscar nomination, Clarence Macklin, the second lead. I noted this year. He was one of the ones involved in the best adapted screenplay category. And the adaptation was from that Esquire article from 2005 called The Sing Sing Follies,
Yes.
I think. So he did get an Oscar nomination. So there is that saving
And
grace.
that will call attention to the film. Okay, but
Yes.
we have to really talk about how amazing the lead actor is.
Colman Domingo.
Colman Domingo. First of all, I was in love with him in Rustin. I thought he was
In what?
Rustin. He got nominated last year for Rustin. And I met him last year and talked to him. But when I talked to him this time, I asked him if this film had any impact on him. Because he's the first one to tell you, even when he was struggling, he wasn't a struggling actor. He was an actor, no matter what size the roles were. Well, he did a role in The Birth of a Nation where he plays Hark Turner, which is Nat Turner's brother, who was a slave. And as an actor, he had these feelings that he was surprised came out. Now, it didn't affect his performance but he felt them. And I said to him, what did you feel in this film? And he said he had feelings that surprised him and touched him, being put in the position he was in the character he was playing, not the position, but in the character he was playing. And this always moves me when you can talk to somebody who you've just seen them do razzle dazzle right in front of your eyes, and then you say, okay, but pull back the curtain and tell me, what do you think? And he loved it. He loved the challenge. It made him think. It makes us all think when we see these men who actually are capable of changing their lives, whether society will let them out, that's another question. But to themselves, the power to themselves that they changed. And I think this is amazing because a lot of people are scared to death of the word change.
Well, there's an expression, and I'm going to mangle it. Music hath charms to soothe the savage breast or beast, something like that. And I suppose theater would provide the same thing because back in the day, Shakespeare was Netflix, as it were. I really liked this movie, and I thought that I was going to find it completely claustrophobic. The entire movie, with the exception of one scene that I recall, takes place in one or perhaps two rooms in this prison. And the prison that I'm speaking of is not Sing Sing, but it's an abandoned former correctional institution. And I was not aware of being in one room. There was so much emotion and depth.
And action. There was a lot of action for one room.
Yes.
And
the character arcs. The character of Colman Domingo, who was, I think his character
was Divine G. Whitfield.
Yeah, and then the Clarence Macklin was Divine I, which is what he actually goes by, I guess. So they drew a lot from their real lives in this movie.
I think also when I talk to African Americans and they play roles like this, or like he played in A Birth of a Nation, and it has to give him memories of how lucky he was that, and this is Colman, at 21, he knew he wanted to be a performer, and the only job available in San Francisco was to go to and be in a children's circus. Of course, he learned all these things to do. He could work on stilts and he could juggle, but he started to, and then he plays a role where circumstances, anger, violence, drugs, whatever it is, causes the character he's playing to end up in jail indefinitely. And we're all human beings. Actors just do it better hiding their emotions, but after it's over, they do feel.
I was curious when I saw the film that in the acting company of inmates, only two of them are white. But when I read the article from Esquire magazine, which they reprinted, they brought it back once this film came out. So people who have Esquire, I'm giving Esquire a plug, but if you subscribe to Esquire, you can get the article. But the original inmates that this was based on, there were only two whites in that group, and the director, whose name was Buell, I guess it's pronounced, played by the amazing Paul Raci, is the only other white character in the movie. It was so great to watch the transformation of each of the prison characters. And I think that there's a redemptive quality to that that makes the moviegoer, you want to root for these guys.
And also, you want to see the power of art. You know, people dismiss it like it's nothing, but it isn't, because it touches us within. It's just, it does. And what I said in the beginning, art saves, and let's see, let me do it right. I guess I did it. I can't find it. Art saves and slapstick laughs. But that's what this movie was. Their lives changed for getting involved in silly theater. It wasn't the finer arts of theater, but it changed, and we watched the change.
You're right. You're right. And I think that anyone who sees this film and isn't touched by it, I don't see how you cannot but be touched by this film.
So I think that this week, these two films did a lot to make us really feel again, because there's a lot of unrest and distrust and things going on. And we need little films like this who are willing to take risks. They don't have as many suits, meaning the people that give you notes, they're the people that give you money, and that they can be more creative and different. That's why we have the Spirit Awards, which I am very grateful for. And so I'd say that I was fortunate to see both films. By the way, I did get a chance to talk to Jesse. And he's walking around like a kid saying, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. It did, Jesse, it did.
These films speak to the human condition, both of them. And the redemptive in Sing Sing, the redemptive power of art. And in A Real Pain, we get a look at the best and the worst of humanity. Well, actually, both of them speak to that.
Yeah.
Because many of the people in Sing Sing who took part in this program were convicted murderers. And, you're watching them and you have a hard time reconciling that at first, and then you realize these people can feel joy and be as gentle as kittens if they're given the right opportunity. So, anything you want to say in closing?
No, but this renews my faith in the filmmaking industry because I love when I get to sit down and see two films like this that I come out feeling good. And I like feeling good.
And I'm Tandy Culpepper.
And I'm Reba Merrill.
Thank you for joining us on the Hollywood Beat.